You may be seated. We have a Christmas Eve service because that wasn't mentioned. 8 p.m. Thursday. That's Christmas Eve, right? Thursday? Okay. I'll be here. All right. This morning, joy. What does Jesus and Star Wars and a polar bear plunge have in common? You will find out. Stay tuned. This morning, I hope this is the season of joy. And sometimes it doesn't always feel like a joyful season because there's a lot of hurt in this time, memories of loved ones lost, and pain, and relationships just that aren't where you want them to be. And so this morning, and yet it's the season of joy. So how do those two things go together? And this morning I hope that we all can leave with a sense of, a little more joy in our life, or at least where to go to find it. So, to what can I compare the people of this generation, Jesus asked? How can I describe them? They are like children playing a game in the public square. They complain to their friends. We played wedding songs and you didn't dance, so we played funeral songs and you didn't weep. Then Jesus goes on to say, for John the Baptist didn't spend his time eating bread or drinking wine. And you say he's possessed by a demon. The Son of Man, on the other hand, he feasts and drinks, and you say he's a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and other sinners. But wisdom is shown to be right by the lives of those who follow it. So John the Baptist, and we've been reading this Advent season a little bit about John. John comes on to the scene, right, announcing the soon-to-be coming Messiah. He's going to bless the whole world. And he's saying, get ready. Prepare your hearts to receive him when he comes. This king is coming. Receive him. In fact, that was quite a standard, normal practice in the ancient world. When a city would learn of that a king was coming, messengers were sent all over the city to prepare the city and to prepare people for celebrations, to prepare everything they needed to do, the party for the emperor who would come to bless their city. This was what John was doing. He was preparing the whole world for the coming of the Messiah. And so then Jesus comes, and he comes to party with his people. And this is what he's saying. He came feasting and eating and drinking with his people. In First John was a little different cat. Think like a monk. He took like a vow of poverty, and he lived way out in the wilderness by himself in isolation. He wore rags. He lived off the land. He ate bugs for food. Okay, he was trying to stay pure. Think purity. He was trying to keep himself pure for the world, so that when the Savior did come, he was in the right place to announce it. And so then Jesus comes doing something very different than what John did, living a very kind of different life than what John lived. John was very isolated and was purity, and Jesus was right in the world. Tax collectors and sinners and prostitutes. Jesus was hanging out with these people. He was eating and drinking with these people. And the religious leaders, they didn't like John because they're like, he's too out there. This dude is too intense. But they didn't like Jesus either. Like, Jesus, like, what are you doing? Like, they questioned everything these two people were doing. And Jesus was saying, you thought John was, a demon? And then you think I'm a friend of sinners? Like, I just can't win with you people. I just can't win. But Jesus came to party. He came eating and drinking. His very first miracle was bringing wine to a wedding. This is the plug where I say drink responsibly, people. But he brought wine to a wedding as his very first miracle. He lived a life where joy was infectious and overflowing. Like that's how he lived. It was infectious, and he entered into the pain of people, but he brought joy with him wherever he went. That's what made him so popular. Like, he was healing people and bringing food to people who were hungry. Like, that's why he was so popular. Think Santa. But, Santa wasn't a new thing. Jesus was like, God invented Santa, right? Bringing good gifts, a life of just showering people with joy and love and peace wherever he went. That was Jesus. That was the life of Jesus. And some people, the religious leaders, they were threatened by it. Like, you're stealing all our thunder here. You're stealing our popularity. And they were threatened, but Jesus came to invite us into a life of joy. So I think it's no wonder that Jesus loved kids. And I think it's quite remarkable, though, that he taught. Not only did he love kids, but he taught, unless you become like one of these children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. You cannot be a citizen in my kingdom. I'm a different kind of king. You want to dwell here and live in my city. You want to live with me. You have to become like a kid. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" So Jesus called a little child to him and placed the child on them and said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever welcomes such a child in my name welcomes me." This has been one of the joys of being a parent to a small child myself, is that I don't know what it is. Maybe it's when you grow older or what, you forget what it's like. But like everything kids see is like amazing, right? Every new thing. It's like, so one of Eden's favorite things right now is gum. She thinks gum is the most incredible creation in the history of the world. It tastes like sugar, and it's not sugar, at least the kind we buy, and it lasts for a while, this wonderful taste. It just lasts so long in your mouth. And, it makes her mouth cool and minty. And like the first time she was eating it, she was like, "Daddy, my mouth's cold." And it was amazing. Gum. And that's the kind of life, Jesus came sharing with his people, where there's like wonder at every turn. You never know what's next. And that's been one of the beauties of entering life, again, through the eyes of children. That you just see so many amazing things. I think, that doesn't have to go away. There's no rule that says, like, as we grow older, we have to grow older. You can grow older and stay young at the same time. It's this life that Jesus is inviting us into. I think this is one of the reasons God came down. Many reasons, but one of the reasons actually was to show people quite how loved they are. I think we have it backwards sometimes when we think, God came down to die for me because I'm a sinner. I'm this wretched, terrible person, and that's why God came. God could have saved us wretched, horrible sinners any way he chose. But he came down, Emmanuel, that's what we celebrate this season. Emmanuel is God with us. God put on skin. He became like us to just share and experience joy with us, to experience this life with us because he loves us, right? It's not so much our unworthiness as much as it is our value and worth to him that he came. That's why Jesus came. Experiencing joy, like laughter, right? Hear a kid laugh, and you cannot help but laugh. There's no way. Like when you hear a little baby laughing, you laugh. It's a guarantee. It's impossible not to. The laughter of a child, that's how God feels about you. That's how God feels about us. That's how God feels about his people. And when you hear it, you can't help but join in. Let me explain. Let's say that one more time. That's too good. That's joy right there, right? That's joy. And a little bit of crazy, but also a lot of joy. I hate to admit, or I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but this crazy group of people is my family. And they've even, this was last year, they even invited, it's this annual polar bear plunge. They've even invited me to partake in this festival of getting hypothermia this year. But man, how can I say no to that? All that joy. I have to go experience it. So, we'll see. I told him yes, I may regret it later. But, this is what we find. Jesus goes and he shows us where to find joy. This laughter, this infectious spirit. He shows us where to find it. He talks about a gate, almost like a door. You open up this door, right, this gate, and you enter through it, and here, my people, is a life of joy. Jesus says, I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to kill, to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. And so we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but what's difficult in this holiday season is that it seems like so many people are like so happy. And sometimes we don't feel so happy because we carry with us, memories of loss in our past. And this season just brings it all up. And so sometimes it can make us feel even worse when we are feeling quite sad and everyone's happy and everyone's supposed to be happy. And it's like, really? I can't get myself there. I can't make myself feel it. And yeah, so that would be happiness. But I'm not talking about happiness. I'm talking about joy. And I think there's a bit of a difference. First of all, when we compare ourselves to others, I think Theodore Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of all joy. Comparison is the thief of all joy. When you begin comparing yourself to what everyone else has and what you have not, that's going to steal your joy faster than you name it. It's gone. Jesus came showing us another way where to find joy. Not necessarily happiness, right? Where to find joy. And this is what he said. Jesus came. He came giving his life away so that you may have life and have it to the full. Jesus came with this full life. The Son of God. God got skin, and he came and gave his full life away. He gave it away so that you too could experience the same fullness of life. So, what does this have to do with Star Wars, you ask? In case you were wondering, because I'm sure you all were. It's like Star Wars has awakened this force, right? This force of childlike spirit in adults around the world. No pun intended. Star Wars fans got that. No, but like adults, like kids and adults everywhere are just like aware that this world is so much bigger and better than they ever could have imagined. And their response, what's their response? Their response is just awe of these movies, of this story, and it just blows minds. So what does Star Wars have to do with Jesus? Well, Star Wars is a story about being in all of the world around you, the force, right? And giving your life away to a cause bigger than yourself that comes from a power outside of yourself. And then it's no wonder that this story is so amazing, is captivating so many hearts. In fact, it sounds quite familiar of this spirit, this force, right? Who comes and give and energize people to give their life away to a cause bigger than themselves. And it's this epic story. And people love it. And they should, because it's amazing. You know what else makes me happy? Socks make me happy. Wool socks. Like merino wool socks, like really, really nice socks. Those make me happy, right? But there's a shelf life to that happiness, right? Because those socks will get holes in them and they wear out. But if my happiness comes from socks, I'm gonna be riding a roller coaster, right? Some days I'm gonna be happy. I'll go out and get a new pair of socks. I'm gonna be really happy. Then when they wear out, I'm sad, right? It's never ending. If our happiness comes from the world around us, we're going to be disappointed. We're never going to have enough. There's never, ever enough. We're not talking about happiness. We're talking about joy. And joy comes from inside. You will never find joy by pursuing joy. That makes sense. You want to be happy? You'll never find happiness by just trying to be happy. You'll never find joy by trying to pursue joy. Joy, like Jesus said, he came giving his life away so that you would have life and life to the fullest. Joy comes through purpose. That's where we find joy. Empty yourselves and you will be filled. Joy comes through the emptying and the giving of ourselves away. Let's look at the text we started with, because Jesus says something truly remarkable at the end of it, and a way for us to experience more joy. Jesus said this, "For John the Baptist didn't spend his time eating bread or drinking wine. And you say, he's possessed by a demon. Well, the Son of Man, on the other hand, feasts and drinks, and you say, he's a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and other sinners. But wisdom is shown to be right by the lives of those who follow it." You catch that line at the end. In case you didn't, I have it highlighted for you. Wisdom is shown to be right by the lives of those who follow it. In other words, Jesus is intentionally refusing to defend himself. He is not defending himself. He's letting his joy be his defense. The way he lives his life is this infectious spirit of joy. He came eating and drinking with his people to invite them into a party. And he got questioned for it, and he got ridiculed for it, and people wanted to argue with him, and he didn't enter into the argument. He said, you know what? In the end, wisdom will prove right. Will prove myself right. In the end, I might not win right. It might not make sense right now. I promise you it will make sense later. And I think this is a type of life he called us into as well. You will never argue someone into the kingdom of heaven, right? Sometimes we talk about defending our faith. We don't need to. Our joy can be our defense. How do you live your life with this infectious spirit? The joy of following Jesus and blessing other people, this joy that comes through purpose and giving your life away, because that's what's going to be infectious. That's what's going to be inspiring to other people. We can never argue or debate someone into the kingdom of heaven. Perhaps, though, we can laugh with someone into the kingdom of heaven, right? Perhaps that we can join them in their pain and cry with them into the kingdom of heaven, right? We can join them, Emmanuel, God with us. We can be with them into the kingdom of heaven, this graciously beautiful kingdom where wonder and joy is right around every corner. People want to be a part of joy. That's what people want. People want to laugh. That's what people want. People want to have their burdens carried with them. That's what people want. That's what people want, and that's what Jesus came and gave them. And that's what he commissioned his followers to do the same with this world and the communities, families. In the very, very beginning, we saw a movie, okay? There was Adam and Eve, and then came Noah. Just didn't get it right. And then God had to start over. Right after he starts over, this man, Abraham, comes onto the scene. And, well, I'll read it. The Lord said to Abram, he's Abram at this point, Abraham later, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." This is the very beginning of our faith. This is where it came from, okay? And God says, "I will make you, Abraham, into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went as the Lord had told him. This was the call of Abraham. This was the call that Jesus fulfilled. So when God tells Abraham, "All the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you," Jesus was in the line of Abraham. Jesus came blessing the whole world. It was through Abraham that the whole world was blessed through Jesus. And this is our same calling today. In this passage, there's a flow of joy. Joy has a certain flow to it. It's like a current. It's like a river. It's a stream. It's flowing. And you can enter into the flow. You can jump in with one of those rafts and just float on down. Or you can stand on the sideline and watch other people float on by having a jolly old time. It has a certain flow to it, right? It's a current. And it flows through God's blessing, out of God's love. We, all of us have been blessed. Why were we blessed? We weren't blessed to receive this and then hang on to it, right? Open hands. We've received it and we're also giving it away. As we're receiving it, we're giving it. As we're receiving it, we're giving it. It's this flow of blessing. That's joy. That's where joy comes from. And you know what? You can be having a bad day and still experience joy because you can still bless someone that day. And that's not happiness. That's deeper than happiness. Happiness comes and goes. Joy can last forever and will last forever. So the question of the day is, do you have an outlet where you're serving? Do you have an outlet where you're giving your life away? What is your life about right now? Is it about us and about pursuing something, our own endeavors? Do you have an outlet where you're giving your life away? Because if you're not, you're missing out on so much joy. It's something that a career can't fulfill. Even another person can't fulfill this type of joy. Marriages were meant to be a lot of things, but one of those good things was to reveal God's own commitment and his own love with humankind. And marriages were meant to model this. So even in a marriage, together as two people, do you have an outlet where you're serving? And in a marriage, in a relationship, experiencing great joy. As a family, do you have an outlet where you're serving? And as a family, can experience more joy. Nothing brings people together or communities together like blessing the world around them and bringing peace and showering grace with the people around them. That's what brings us together too. It's like this bond of joy we all share when we bless other people. This flow, right? This current of blessing. We're blessed. We are blessed to be a blessing. It's the call of Abraham. It's the call of Jesus. It's the call of us today. You have an opportunity. So we were given, you all were given envelopes this morning when you walked in. This holiday season, we've talked about this a bit. we've been doing a partnership with the Lighthouse. It's a local homeless and transitional shelter here in Whitley County in Columbia City. Right now there's about 8 kids who live there periodically off and on. And their parents either don't have jobs or have jobs, and they're trying to save up enough money then to transition to an apartment. Needless to say, they're not going to be receiving a whole lot of toys this Christmas. So this morning, with our regular offering, you were given an envelope that if you want to, we're going to be, as a church, buying toys for the kids who won't be receiving toys this Christmas. And an opportunity to be a blessing and to help them, for them to receive joy, but we're receiving a whole lot of joy too in being a blessing. And parents are receiving joy. Parents are receiving dignity, right? Because it's going to come from them, right? So that they can have the dignity and self-worth of giving presents to their kids on Christmas. So if you feel so led, along with the offering, if you want to donate specifically to this, include that in the envelope that we gave you this morning. Why are you here? Right? Why are you here? What is your purpose in this life? That's like life's greatest question, right? Why am I here? Like, why am I here? Why was Jesus here? That's why you're here. Jesus came from love to share love. He came from love to share love. You've come from a loving Creator to share love with the world around you. And when you do, that's where our joy is found. Let's stand.